This is Mercy Pilkington for GoodEReader.com at Digital Book World, talking to Michael Tamblin of Kobo. I heard a great presentation on ebook pricing just now, and actually we'll be hearing some more about global interest later on in the afternoon. Had a few quick questions about basically Kobo in general. First of all, you've recently expanded into the Netherlands with some offering there. Are the devices coming very quickly? Is Vox going to expand into the Netherlands soon, and any other countries after that?
We look at each country as, essentially as its own business, and we look at it with a couple of factors. Both, do we see a rising tide of digital adoption that could benefit from Kobo being there? Are there good retail partners who we can work with to expand our brand and reach those customers? And also, is there access to digital content available that we can put in consumers' hands? And the Netherlands has been fantastic because we have all three of those things together at the same time. And so we're hoping, very similar to the great experience that we've had with Fnac in France, that we can make some really good headway with Dutch consumers who've been waiting for a great e-reading experience in that market.
Okay, and with the recent deal with Rakuten, does that help in any way grow into Asia?
Where Kobo and Rakuten were perfectly aligned from the first time that we started speaking together was we are both very aggressive about continuing to bring this experience into new markets. And so whether that's across Asia Pacific, deeper into Europe, or other territories that quite frankly are kind of sitting off the radar of most retailers right now, we'll be working hand in hand with them to bring a great e-reading experience all over the world.
Right, and you had a press release that came out last month concerning some of the enhancements to customer service. How is that going, and what are some of those changes that are being put into place with basically customer care?
Right. Customer service has been one of the big challenges that we've had to go through this year as our base of customers has exploded, and that quite frankly was one of those things that we weren't quite prepared for. That has meant then the opening of new call centers, including call centers back in North America, so that we can look very closely and carefully at the consistency of the customer service experience, that we can bring those people into Kobo's culture and deal with some of the delays in support and consistency of support that people have been telling us about. And believe me, that's something that we have that we've really taken to heart. There is nothing worse than getting an email to your personal inbox saying Kobo's let me down. We don't want that to happen again. So we will keep making more investments, and we will keep building out new infrastructure in that area. It won't be perfect right away, but it is absolutely something that we are focused on.
Great. And now recently we've had a lot of innovations come out of some of the other similar business models. So comparing Kobo to some of the things like Amazon's publishing arm and Apple getting into textbooks, do you see any kind of expansion in other realms, maybe those realms, or something unique coming out of Kobo?
Self-published authors have made it very clear to us that they want to do more with Kobo. They want to have a relationship with us that allows them to react more quickly, bring books into our system more easily, and we're going to be making investments on that front significantly in the coming year. We want to make sure that when a self-published author wants to bring their books to the world, that they see Kobo as the perfect place to make that happen. And it's important because, especially with self-published work, we don't just see that selling in North America. We see that selling in every country where the author has given us rights to sell it. And we'll be talking about it later this afternoon. Africa, South America, through Asia are all places where English language self-published books are selling today.
With basically the loss of Borders as a storefront to sell Kobo devices, are you working on any other partnerships in America and the U.S. here to sell Kobo devices more throughout the country and not just the Northeast?
The experience of losing Borders, which was difficult for us, was difficult for publishers and for consumers, is something that I think we have all come out of, in decent shape. In our case, it made us look outside of the traditional bookstore in terms of how we wanted to bring Kobo devices to customers. That had us, making significant inroads with Best Buy, with Target, with Walmart, with other places where we could find people that were interested in e-readers, and where we could put our product up for comparison against the others in the market. That's worked very well for us, and continues to be a place where we are seeing good sell-through of devices for the U.S.
Okay, now a couple questions about the actual devices themselves. We see a lot of companies who are developing content strictly for either iOS or Android because they prefer one or the other, not in terms of any kind of bias, but just they've got the technology. Is there any kind of technical reason why there's so much work being done with iOS for Kobo and less for Android?
For iOS for Kobo or for iOS as opposed to Kobo?
For basically any of the Android users feeling like they're kind of left out of the equation and all kinds of digital content, but
Right.
also with Kobo.
The great thing about the investments that we've made in Vox, which is an Android-based tablet, is that that's put our focus very squarely on what's the experience that we have within our Android application. And I think it's safe to say that you'll be able to see a lot of those innovations rolling out to the mainstream Android app in the coming year. And has meant that we've built a fantastic development team completely obsessed with how to make the best possible experience for reading on Android.
Okay. And along the same lines with any of the social reading features that you've had, especially for Vox, do you see those expanding to the other devices or getting more of a boost?
Uh, Constantly. And I think when every time you download one of our apps, whether it's for iOS or for Android, you tend to see another piece of social reading start to show up. They show up at different times, and they don't always show up at the same time. But for example, you could see Pulse, which began exclusively as a Vox feature, now starting to work its way into iOS, and has now become a fantastic platform for Pulse social reading. So you can expect to see more of that for sure.
And actually, this last question is very speculative, so I realize it's going to be a far out there
Love a good
projection.
speculative question.
I don't know. We saw such a strong leadership that grew Kobo. With the new deal happening and expansions happening, do you envision anybody leaving and breaking away to start new projects, coming up with something on their own, related or unrelated to Kobo? Are we going to lose anybody from the leadership to start something brand new?
I think it's safe to say that the whole management team is completely committed to continuing on with Kobo. This is just the beginning for a fantastic company. I think a lot of people forget we're only 2 years old. There is a long, long way to go, and we know that this business is just going to get bigger and bigger. It's going to move faster under Rakuten's ownership and access to the resources that they can provide. And we've got an incredible team. So I think everybody sitting on the management team feels that this is their dream job right now and wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Well, that's good to hear. Thank you so much. This is Mercy Pilkington for Good e-Reader at Digital Book World.
You're so welcome. Thank you.